Hello and welcome to the Hedonistic Way Online Summit. I'm Renee Main and we are having unadulterated pillow talk with global game changers who are kicking ass in life and business and disrupting the status quo and living stereotypical success. Today I'm with the beautiful Rosie Rees. She is a crystal toy entrepreneur. She is a Kundalini and Hatha yoga instructor. And you are also a qualified relationship coach through Tony Robbins. Is that right, Rosie?
That's correct. Yeah.
So the one thing that I love about Rosie is she's got this energy that just radiates. You can't help but gravitate towards her. And what I love is she oozes freedom and she captures this free spirit. But I know that Rosie is incredibly passionate about self-acceptance and women falling in love with who they are as they are and navigating that road and how we can do that in the most pleasurable way. So thank you so much for joining us, Rosie.
Oh, such a pleasure. And that just sent goosebumps up my spine. So
beautiful.
Thank you. So complimentary.
Oh, I'm so glad. It's so good to have you here. Before we get started, I want to know what your nickname is.
By my parents or by my friends?
I don't know. Let's whatever you feel and want to share.
Well, the funniest ones are probably by my dad. My dad's always given me so many nicknames from such a young age. I had sausage, pudding, but the one that stuck, and I get it all the time now, is Budster. So they call me Rosebud. But they shorten it to Budster, and so now I'm just Budster.
Budster. I love that. I love the journey of nicknames. Like, it's how it starts off as one thing that actually makes a little bit of sense, but then that gets shortened into something that makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I love it. And actually Tony Robbins talks about nicknames and how they're actually really, really important for couples, particularly, to have nicknames for each other.
Yeah.
Because people feel really special. You feel really, it does actually release endorphins when someone calls you by that nickname.
Yeah, cool. I love that. That's awesome. And now I know why, because I was like, I don't know why. I'm just like, it was just, a couple of questions where I was like, I really want to know that about this person. And so
I think it's a great question.
Yeah. Yes. I love it. What is on your bedside table?
I have a lamp. It's a really small one. So there's usually a lamp, a glass of water, and a crystal dildo.
Cool. And what kind of crystal is it?
It's usually rose quartz.
Yeah,
it's my go-to. Even though I have every one that I sell, but I usually love the rose quartz.
Cool, awesome. And what is turning you on at the moment?
Oh, what's turning me on? I just had a sauna.
Yeah.
And I just love being in heat. I find it really healing. I find it really energizing. If I could live in that humidity all year round, I would. I just find saunas, really activating, and you just purging and sweating and detoxing. So I don't know if you mean in a sexual way, but that just turns my whole body on.
Yeah, beautiful, awesome. No, I love that. I love whatever comes up for whoever. So that's a beautiful question. So let's talk about then with that. You own the Pleasure Palace. Tell us about how that got. Hello.
Isis. Love joining these, don't you?
Oh, beautiful. Tell us about how that got started. And I know it's only a portion of what you do, because you do so many amazing things, but if I, from outside looking in, they all essentially, like, they all go hand in hand, and they're all telling this story that intertwines into each one. So did you want to talk about, I guess, maybe even your whole business model and how it works? And did you start with one thing and then it kind of evolved into the next? What was that journey around that?
Yeah. So it all started with a blog.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I birthed it in 2012. I went through a really toxic relationship breakdown, and I'm just going to move my little kitty. I used blogging and writing as a means of healing. And so I started a website, and I was quite anonymous at the time as well. I didn't want people to really know it was me. So I started the blog, and from that negative experience in my relationship, I went to the Tony Robbins seminar, found out that he did a coaching certification in relationship coaching, which is that's only ever been my kind of focus and my healing, and it's where I've actually struggled most in my life. And we always gravitate to what we need to learn the most.
Absolutely.
So I did a year of training online with that and became a coach. So I honestly thought I was going to be a coach, like just purely a coach forever. I was more than, like, that's the only thing I wanted to do. So that was always my main, I guess, focus. But I realized when I first started out, the income was up and down. I'd get some clients some months, other months I wouldn't get anyone. I was like, okay, I need to actually be really smart about this, because I don't want to put pressure on my passion or my creative vocation to make me money. Because and Liz Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love and Big Magic,
she's come up twice today, which is amazing. So
wow. Yeah. I mean, it's really simple, but she's just like, I didn't quit my job until Eat, Pray, Love made a million copies, sold a million copies. So I had to get really smart. But at the time, I actually had experienced this Yoni egg workshop in Bali, and I'd started practicing nude yoga at home. And I was like, okay, well, I really love these two things to do and to practice. So maybe I can actually sort of bring them into my business model. And honestly, it's been the best. And I am really doing what I love to do. So now I have 3 streams of income essentially, which is the coaching, the online shop, and the nude yoga workshops.
Tell me about the difference it made to you when you started off as a life coach, or a relationship coach, and then you started it working with, I guess, yourself, embodying it. Well, you said you did the workshop. What was that transformation within you, and how you served your clients, from going from a relationship coach to really embodying and encompassing yoni eggs into your life? What was the shift in you? What effect did that have?
Well, I kind of took my sexuality and my connection and relationship to my yoni into my own hands. I had a lot of casual sex, and I'd always thought that your yoni, your vagina, was just purely a place for orgasms and sort of having sex. And the yoni egg helped me to have an experience with my own yoni, my own vagina, in a very intimate way, but not necessarily a sexual way. I didn't have a wild orgasm. It wasn't anyone else pleasuring me. It was this beautiful, quite innocent, healing connection with my yoni. And I think every woman should have a yoni egg that they use at least every day for an hour or half an hour. And so, it really actually shifted my coaching dramatically, because it became a lot more self-pleasure focused, and women wanting to feel more empowered sexually, which I think every woman does, because we've had thousands of years of suppression. We've not been able to be free to be sexual beings until how lucky are we to live in this era where we can have sex with anyone we want, and we don't need to be married, and we're not going to get stoned to death or burned at the stake. So I feel like the time is now, and it has, that transformation in me has just transformed my whole business and my relationships as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that, like, connection to, or let's say, why is that connection and that conversation and connection that you started to have to your yoni? And you'll be pleased to know that if I just, I'm going to reach, I've got my,
beautiful.
I've got mine.
Oh.
On my bedside table.
You must have had them for a while, because that's my old branding.
Yeah, probably was actually. Probably not last year, the year before.
Yeah.
So I guess it was a while ago.
Yeah, good.
So yes, what was I saying? So with that, the connection and the conversation that you started to have with your yoni, why is that important in everyday life, how you feel about yourself and how you show up in the world?
I think a woman, you can kind of tell a woman who's connected to her yoni or her sexuality. It's like it's the root chakra, it's the base and the sacral, but it's like the start. It's the beginning of your whole connection to your entire body. I had a client a few weeks ago, and she was beautiful, like physically stunning, had so much going for her in her life, but she was deeply, deeply insecure. And I was like, so tell me, what do you feel most insecure about? And like her eyes started to well up, and she actually said my vag. So she called it, and I just cringed. I'm like, oh.
It's such a funny word.
It's such a funny word, my vag, the way she said it. Oh my God. And I said, okay. And then I got her to cup her hands over her yoni, and I got her to actually call it yoni. So yoni means sacred space, sacred temple in Indian Sanskrit.
I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful, because vagina literally just means sheath for a sword, and it's only that, canal part of the whole vulva, and yoni means like vulva, vagina, and womb, so it encompasses all. Right.
Cool.
And she just didn't like the way it looked. She didn't like what she'd done to it, like with lots of unconscious sex.
Right.
And for the first time in her life, she just cupped her yoni and breathed with it, cried. And she's like, when she was leaving, she just felt so incredibly transformed. Because the thing is, we're not actually taught to love, we're taught to self-love, but we're definitely not taught about our even the anatomy of our vagina, let alone how to love it and pleasure it and have orgasms, and how to say no or yes, or boundaries. So I feel like there's this real unearthing of women really honouring that space. And when we are comfortable and content and even embracing our yoni, there's so much more possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Side note, I do actually want to ask you a question about now, what was it about? Oh, that's right, I remember now. About, you mentioned before about the women who you can tell a woman who is sexually empowered. But after I got my yoni eggs last year, I introduced this big jar that my partner and my two girls, so we had a happiness and gratitude jar. So every week, every day, whenever we felt grateful or really, happy or whatever, we would write on a Post-it note and put it in, and we read them all out on Christmas Eve. Oh. And one of them was the benefits of the yoni egg.
From your partner?
Yeah. So we'd both written it down. So it was
amazing. That's the thing. There's so many benefits.
There are so many benefits, and I don't think you can hear about it. But until you experience, like probably anything really, but until you experience it, it's just like, wow, it opens you up to a whole new world of bliss. which is awesome. So with that, when you said before, you can tell a woman who is sexually empowered, and I absolutely love that and agree. What does she look like? Is it a physical look? Is it something that people feel, or what is it?
I mean, I think it's physical and something energetic, you know, in their field that you can pick up on. On a physical level, she's probably got her shoulders back. She's not her chest wide open, but she's secure in herself. So her shoulders are relaxed and away from. I see so many women hunched, and it feels like they're just not proud of their breasts. Naturally, when we connect to our yoni, we tend to connect to our heart as well, or even the other way around. And I actually encourage women who have a lot of blocks sexually to massage their breasts first and foremost before going into the yoni egg practice, because that'll just help to really blossom and flower the yoni.
Yeah.
So it's this sort of an expansion in the chest. She's in her hips. Her hips aren't stiff and rigid. Her hips are all like fluid, and I do a lot of these kinds of movements in my yoga classes to really into their pelvis and into their hips. She almost like just has this knowledge and this awareness and this inner knowing that she is beautiful and she's sensual. And when people do step in, that kind of radiates out from her. I know for me, when I stand, body language is huge. When I stand in the presence of a woman who's just, here I am, rather than look at me, it's disarming. Like, it's like, whoa, it's beautiful to feel. And it's not, you know, you're not doing these, you're not hands on the hips. It's kind of just like this comfortability in your body.
Yeah.
And that's just, you can feel that. And she feels pleasure in like everything.
Yeah, awesome. That's beautiful. With that, I want to ask, let's talk about nude yoga and self-acceptance, and I don't know, like what, where, how, you know, like I kind of, you know, when I first heard about, and I've never actually practiced or experienced nude yoga, but when I first heard about it, I'm like, no one needs to see me naked in a downward dog. Like, it was that that space.
That's the usual response I get.
Yeah. So tell us about, just tell us about it. I don't know. Let's go there.
Well, a lot of people, you know, go to think the very worst of what could potentially happen, which is exactly what you just said. No one needs to see me naked. No one needs bumps and faces, cringing at the downward dog. And I really wanted to create, for starters, no one else was doing it. And I was doing it in my bedroom and in my backyard. And I had such a profound experience of getting naked and doing yoga. It was such a simple thing, but I started to really, I noticed how I was speaking to my body. And this is the thing about nude yoga. It actually has this incredible capability to presence you like nothing else. You know, because you're stripped bare. You literally there's no barriers up. There's nothing left, you know. And then all of a sudden, all your thoughts and what's going on in your mind and your relationship to your body starts bubbling to the surface. So I realized, I was like, I don't like my rolls of fat, and I don't like these scars, and my legs are quite hairy, and this and that, just like constant just rambling of how I was actually thinking about body. I didn't like that at all, because I've never had any body image issues or eating disorders or anything, but that doesn't, even if you haven't had that, 90% of women hate their body, and there's this inner critic constantly there. And so I just kept doing this naked yoga practice, and even though it was really confronting, and I thought to myself, I didn't even think it actually came in a very loud and clear meditation when I was naked on my mat, and it said, you need to teach this for women in a group space, and it needs to be very honoring and beautiful. and because lots of women are going to have a huge impact, just like you have. And I just raised my hand. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fear, and I thought, what are my parents going to think? And,
Yeah.
you know, is the world actually ready for something like this? Am I going to cop a lot of, you know, negative press?
Yeah.
But I just didn't care. Like, I just did it anyway and sold out the first few workshops. And I thought, wow, okay, women are ready for this. And it is. It's very, it's a very welcoming space. It's dim lit. There's candles. It's usually heated if it's if it's cold time of year. It's taught in the evening. It's a 3-hour unveiling process. It's not just come in, do the down dog naked with fluorescent lights. And there's places that do that in the US, but I really wanted to create a space that made women feel so safe and at home, because the reality is there's not, even in this day and age, there's really not, well, we can't be naked full stop because it's illegal.
Yes.
And particularly in Australia, it's very conservative in Australia, not so much in, say, Spain or in Sweden in a sauna kind of thing. But there's not many places for women to unveil and not be objectified or perved on. So that's another really important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, I love what you touched on there, is that I've experienced the same thing, is not with nude yoga, but when I started modeling for Bra Queen in my lingerie, there is something liberating about seeing yourself as you are and beginning to tap into how you're feeling. When, you know, you have to see your soul. At some point, there will be a moment where you see your soul and you see yourself in a different light, and you begin this journey where you accept yourself so much more. So like that, you know, so I get that. And I think that that's something that we can, because the thing is self-acceptance and self-love really is, it's intangible, isn't it? You know, but when you have a physical experience, or you're looking at a physical product of something that allows you to see yourself or feel, you know, feel connected, you know, so I get that that's what you're creating. And when you were talking about before about your space, when you practice the nude yoga, the way you described it, I was like, it sounds like they're in a womb, you know.
It is.
Yeah, like, so I loved it. That's beautiful. Like, it was, you know, it was the way you described it was so beautiful.
Yeah, a beautiful womb space. And that's what I really look for in the yoga studios that I rent and hire all over Australia. It's got to be really, you know, cozy and inviting. And it's also having, it's a very much so collective thing. Even though you're on your yoga mat and you're in your own space and your own journey, you feel this sense of coming together. Like, women gathered in tents, red tents, for centuries, and we don't do it anymore. And so this is as primal and raw as it gets, you know, naked. Yeah, you're on your yoga mat, you're not on the earth or anything in a teepee, but it reconnects women to that lineage of coming together, sharing, you know, what you're going through, because there is a sharing circle, and we can talk about your relationship to your body. And women just leave, and a lot of them say they either have the best sleep of their life, like they just, because they've shed, it's like shedding a layer of skin, shedding your clothes. It's very renewing and rebirthing. And yeah, they have the best sleep or the best sex of their life.
Yeah, I love that.
You're so, you know, comfortable in their skin.
Yeah, and that's what it does. So with this self-acceptance and this empowerment that you're teaching women, but you're also giving them the tools to actually help them with that process, and you're guiding them through that process. What difference, let me say this. So how does sexuality, we tapped on it before, but let's delve into it a little bit deeper. How does it affect how they show up every day when they're sexually empowered? So how does their everyday look?
After practicing nude yoga, or just being sexually empowered?
Sexually empowered.
They're more at home in their body. Because when we disassociate or disconnect to a certain part of our body, we're not full whole bodied. We don't feel whole.
Yes.
And so you can just feel it when a woman's sort of disconnected from the belly button down, or cut off from basically, collarbones down.
Yeah.
She's not at home in her body. She doesn't move. She doesn't breathe deep. She doesn't, taste the strawberry to the full extent. And so that's how I see it, is this sexual energy. It's kind of like this simmering of energy, of water, that water element. And it can kind of bubble up in your body like steam, like it just warms you up from the inside. And I think a lot of women are in their head, just polarized in their masculine, in their head. They're just here. They're just this brain and thinking and doing and very masculine. That's all fire element, and that burns out our, what I call our womb waters. And we have to keep that well of our sexual energy fluid and topped up. And whether that's through self-pleasure or using a yoni egg or having regular lovemaking with your partner or whoever you want to sleep with.
Yeah.
Just to keep it simmering.
Yeah, cool. Something that you just mentioned there, and I thought that was a really good point, is, so, you mentioned how, like you can be cut off in certain, if they make very masculine or in their heads and very cut off to their body. What are some of the things that anybody listening can start to kind of do that self-inquiry about, as to if they're closed off, or if they're too masculine, I don't like to say too feminine, too masculine, but if they're cut off and they're blocked in some sort of area, what questions can they start to ask themselves to see where they're at in regards to their own embodiment of that?
You could always ask yourself, what would a sexually empowered woman do right now? What would a sensual goddess do right now, or be, or share, and most of the time she would probably have a hot bath, or go for a walk in nature barefoot, go for a swim at the ocean. Notice that's a lot of water. Journal maybe for some. I don't journal, but a lot of women get a lot out of that. Burn some, diffuse some oils. Yeah. Massage your breast. Sit in front of the mirror and just look at yourself. Look at yourself, rather than, because we often look in the mirror and look at exactly what we hate the most, what we despise, what we loathe, what we don't appreciate and love. And see if you can actually just look in the mirror and scan your whole body. Yeah. And give it love and gratitude. Yeah. Beautiful. Maybe she would massage her breasts. But that is amazing. Like, I'm thinking right now, an essentially embodied woman probably wear something more lacy. I am no bra, but just in my white t-shirt. And I'm like, I think I would have liked to be wearing something more sensual during this. I'm getting your transmission. Yeah.
Love it. That's such a beautiful, like, even just asking themselves that question, like, doesn't it just feels good, like, and it just takes you away on this beautiful daydream of how you want to feel, which is, and once you start doing that, like, you will start to step into that. So that's so beautiful. Definitely. That's lovely. How does that transpire into business? So for someone who is in business and they're wanting to, or let's say this, is how can sexual energy or sexual empowerment, how can that change someone's business?
I actually, last year, I went for a month without sex or self-pleasure or orgasm. But I did use my Yoni egg every day. And I had the most sexual, and I have a partner as well, and we were only together for about, at that stage, 3 months. So we still were very much so in that wanting to rip each other's clothes off. And that month I had the most sexual energy I've ever had in my life. And I actually looked at my stats on my website to look at, you know, the growth of my business and, you know, how the online shop went that month. It boomed. I think I had the best month of the whole year in that month, September. So what I did, because I had so much pent up energy and I was using the egg and, you know, putting intention into it. But what I did was I redirected my sexual energy from myself or my partner and straight into my business. And because I had so much energy, because it's it's life-giving energy that literally creates life. So if you're not having sex, if you're not making babies, where is it going? You know, a lot of people feel quite numb to it and don't even have any at all. But I just went beeline straight into the business, and it really worked. So I, you know, had that energy, and I just blogged more. I did more promotions. I had more inspiration. I had lives in my private group, Yoni Pleasure Palace, and so much happening. There was so much activity.
How can you, or is there, how can you then still enjoy an intimate, amazing, orgasmic, you know, relationship and, you know, lovemaking with your partner, or partners, or whatever it looks like for the person? How can they enjoy that, but still perhaps use their yoni eggs and have that powerful intention and still have that, let's say, infinite energy that they put into their business and get the same result?
Very good question. I'm still working that one out. I don't live with my partner, and I think for now that's actually really beneficial thing, because we're still two different beings, and I think we can get quite distracted by each other, and which is exciting and fun. But you know, I'll spend the night with him and we'll usually make love, but I leave pretty much, you know, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, okay, gotta go put on my my business hat and channel this energy that I have into what I'm doing. So we do have that. I think it's important to have that separation. So if you do live with your partner and you both work from home, go to a cafe and work and channel it into that. Just to have that space. I think it's really important to have physical space. So as you can, you know, balance out.
Absolutely. So with that then, is when you said before you redirected that energy and you just put it into the energy, into the business, how does that look like? So what was it, just because you had, you know, like an overflow of energy or a build-up of sexual energy, that it was just this outpour that you were able to put in your business, or was it something conscious that you did as well?
It was a bit of both. So, you know, there'd be a time when I was extremely horny, and, you know, I would typically go and use a pleasure wand and have a beautiful orgasm or an experience, or have sex with my partner. And so I was definitely overflowing with energy. And so I guess on more of a conscious level, I would think, okay, how can I use this sexual energy? And sometimes I'd go for a walk in nature, or go for a run or a swim and just sort of burn that energy. And other times I'd go, I'm going to create something. And it's usually, you're very creative when you're turned on, when you're aroused, when you're feeling sexy. So just consciously went, okay, I'm going to create this. And then I would start typing, or I'd start planning something. I'd plan out a workshop, or it definitely was a bit of both.
Yeah.
Overflowing of energy and being conscious with what I'm doing.
Cool. That's beautiful. And what a beautiful way to work. Like, what a way to just, the inspiration, like the inspired action that flows from that. It's like, so beautiful. So good. Beautiful. I did just have, what was that question that I was just thinking of? Has it escaped me? It's escaped me. Yeah, it'll come if it's supposed to. Yeah. So with that, I did want to ask you about yoni eggs, and so if someone who is new to yoni eggs, how, or wands even, what can they expect? What would you say to someone who is new to their, like, I think like a lot of people now, and a lot of people watching this would be probably heard of it, whether they've got some somewhere, or, and do you have to then, like, is it something that you should revisit to go, okay, am I connected to you? Do I actually need to, how often should you use them? What would you recommend?
Yes, I get these questions a lot. So I'll be doing an online course this year called The Golden Vagina, which will answer all of these questions and have exercises for you. But to begin with, intuitively choose your egg. I have probably about 10 or 15 different kinds of crystals on my website. The best one to use initially is the Nephrite Jade. It's the most dense, strongest, most healing stone you could possibly use. And it was the one that the women in China used 5,000 years ago to strengthen their pelvic floor and to raise their sexual energy.
Yeah.
So it is a really good stone to use, but I do suggest the set of 3, which is what you have.
Yes.
And you can get rose quartz, black obsidian, and jade, and kind of choose, because the thing is, sometimes you don't want to use a certain stone, like you're only drawn to certain different ones. So it is nice to have a variety.
Yeah.
And typically,
sorry,
you can ask me anything, because otherwise it might disappear.
In that, it was the most, I'll say bizarre, but I found it fascinating that I've got the 3, and I was intuitively guided. One of them, the black one, I was like, I had this real kind of love-hate, real, like, even picking it. And but then I was like, nah, you've got fear around that, so you're getting it, right? And so I just trusted the fear in that. But what I found is that I don't know how somebody could just use just one, because different days you're absolutely guided. So I might go, oh yeah, I'll use this one today. But then you're kind of in the back of your mind or whatever, you're going, I think it's this one. But if you ignore that voice, that baby falls straight out.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, like, your body rejects it.
Yeah, and then I'll go, okay, I'll put whatever in. And so you do that and it stays in. Like, it is amazing.
And sometimes it wants to stay in all day.
Yeah.
Like, and other times I have an egg that I'll put in and just reject it. And if people are a bit skeptical about crystals, honestly, try these and see, because there's a lot of Kegel weights on the market that are silicone and a metal and different materials. And to be honest, I wouldn't be putting them anywhere near my yoni. And I actually used cheap silicone ones when I was like 20. I didn't even know what they were. I got them from a Sexpo show bag. And my God, that kind of material can deteriorate and get quite I don't know, bad over time. So I wouldn't be using anything that isn't really at least medical grade. Crystals, yes, they have imperfections because they are natural rocks from Mother Earth.
Yeah.
But I have such a strong, amazing relationship with I've got 3 suppliers that I use that are incredible. No waxes or dyes or chemicals are used in the process. A lot of water is used to shape them and polish them.
Yeah.
But we try to have it no imperfections. With rose quartz, there's naturally some imperfection because it's such a rough crystal in its raw form.
Yeah.
But it is really nice to have a variety because we're different every day. And there's one set that I have that's a large, I think it's a large rose quartz, medium jade, and small black obsidian.
Yes.
And typically you start with large because it's easier to hold in. It might be heavier. So for some women, it might drop out straight away because it is heavier. But for a lot of women, you don't have to contract as much.
No, that's right.
The vaginal muscles to hold on to the egg. So start with large, use that for a few weeks, maybe a few months, and then medium, and then the small is more advanced. Yeah. Sometimes my yoni only wants something small in it. It doesn't want, like, particularly if I'm sleeping, I'll just use a small egg. And I don't use drilled eggs anymore. I just use non-drilled, so I can just literally insert a finger and scoop it out, or push down when I'm in the shower or something. I'll squat down and birth it out like a chicken would lay an egg. So it's really easy enough to do.
Yeah. In the beginning, I would use the string, but now I don't use any. I would be too scared that I'm like, what if this baby doesn't come out?
Well, the thing, and this is what a lot of women don't know, their anatomy of their vaginas. So the cervix only opens when you're giving birth. Yeah. Essentially. I mean, obviously it opens slightly when you bleed and when you ovulate, like only ever so slightly, but the egg will always come out. Yeah. And so I've had to get my partner to scoop it out once because it just went quite high, and your cervix, the position of your cervix changes. It can go really high up during a cycle, and other times it can be really low down. So there's different times in my cycle that I can't even reach my cervix, and then other times where it's really low.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And I love the exploration that you go on with it as well. So with that, and so all this, and you mentioned it before, like, it's all about pleasure. So why, and this is like, for me, like, the hedonistic way is all about pleasure in every single moment, even the bad or the wrong or the dark or whatever, but it's embracing. Yeah, it's embracing all of it. So with this, like, why do you think it's so important that we seek this pleasure in our life, in our business, in our everyday?
I think the simple answer is because it's our birthright. And we are challenged so much in life, and I tend to agree. Like, if I stub my toe and it really hurts, there's actually like this moment where you hold this power. I can either be in complete agony right now, or I can see this as like just literally reframe. Yeah. So this could feel pretty pleasurable if I wanted to. Just like I get like getting spanked and tied up and potentially whipped. And it's painful, but it's not at the same time. That you can choose if you want that to be pleasurable. I just think that we don't give ourselves enough permission to feel pleasure. Yeah. Yeah. Whether that's walking barefoot on the grass, or whether that's feeling someone stroke your hair, whatever, honestly, in whatever situation it might be. I've had sensual massages before, and that's something that I like to do from time to time when it feels right. So it's not like it's like a yoni massage, but it's like more of a sensual massage, erotic massage. It's like, why do men only get to experience that? Why can't women?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, like,
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And I love what you say there is once you scratch the surface of, and I've said, oh gosh, for so many years, actually, that's even before I was teaching the hedonistic way and I was introduced to, you know, sexual empowerment and my yoni eggs and all of these things, is I believe that pain and pleasure are on the same pole, you know, and once we scratch the surface of that pain, it actually, and you dig a bit deeper, you can find pleasure in that. And I think that of no matter what it is, no matter what it is, because with pain sometimes, and you scratch that surface or scratch underneath the surface, it exposes a rawness within you that can be sometimes really new and a really beautiful, you know, wake up call or whatever that is in that, you know?
Yeah, I do. Even the pain that is non-physical in the sense, so like anxiety and depression, it is actually a mental shift that you choose to make. So anxiety, you know, I get anxiety every now and again. And really it's here. So I locate it in my body. Usually here. I have really short breath. And I feel this like almost like butterflies in my chest. And a bit of tightness. And rather than, and a lot of us are just avoid. I don't want to feel the pain. And a lot of us are, and I'm a pleasure seeker for sure, but actually just allowing yourself to go into that pain or that anxiety or that depression. And it might be located in different parts of your body. But an incredible man once, you know, I was in a relationship a number of years ago, and I was just feeling outrageously jealous. I was so angry and so just all the time just feeling so insecure and jealous. And he's a kind of like a tantric master, I guess. And he sat down, he's just like, I want you to just feel it. I want you to stop avoiding it, because I'm like, oh, I feel like I shouldn't be like this. I should know better. I should just feel secure and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I just want you to close your eyes, and I want you to allow yourself to fully feel the full spectrum of jealousy. And I just stopped, and I'm like, oh. And once you feel it, it dissipates.
It does. And then you kind of go, what the fuck was I worried about?
Just chill. So you can do the same with anxiety. You can do the same with depression or whatever it is that you're struggling with.
I absolutely agree. And sometimes it's when the pain outweighs the fear, that's when we actually do something about it, you know, as well. You know, if you've got a toothache, right, and you're going through this pain, but if the fear of going to the dentist is bigger than the pain, then you won't go to the dentist. It's only until the pain outweighs the fear. But I agree, like once you go there, and I love your points just then, is to locate it in your body and go there and feel it in its full spectrum. And that's such beautiful advice, because I think that is so, so important. I know that, you know, you are so passionate about empowering women, and self-acceptance is huge for you. Why is it so important? Like, how does it make a difference to their everyday life? Because, you know, we say it, you know, like it's thrown around a lot, but when you can, like, I feel that sets your soul on fire. You know, that is, you ooze that. So I'm curious to know as to why that is so important, that we feel this self-acceptance and love.
I think in a nutshell, it's because we are in a society at the moment that just glorifies self-improvement to the nth degree. Through physically, like your body, through, you know, you've got to earn more money, even self-development. So you can improve, you can do better. And like my partner's almost a self-development addict. Like he would constantly consume content to help himself. which is
Yes.
great. It's a great addiction to have.
Yeah.
But also, you know, women are constantly trying to fix themselves and improve themselves and be better and skinnier and this and that. And, you know, God forbid if you're not a female entrepreneur running her own thriving online business. Like everyone needs to be doing that now.
Yeah.
And so all these poor women out there who perhaps that isn't their life purpose, but they think they need to be doing that to constantly improve, to be better. And, you know, we're not all destined to be online entrepreneurs.
No, exactly.
We all have different life paths. And I think it doesn't help that we have this $65 billion beauty industry breathing down our neck, telling us you need concealer, you need eyebrow pencil, you need hair, your hair, you can't have grey hair, you can't have cellulite anymore, you can't have this and that. And it's like, and this is, I guess, why I'm doing the new, because it strips all that shit back. And I really encourage women to not wear makeup to the class, to not go get a spray tan, don't wax your vagina. Even though there's always women who come dolled up kind of thing in a way. Then they realize when they're there, oh, this is not what it's about at all. It's not about being seen and putting that, you know, yourself like that.
Yeah. I've never understood makeup at the gym, ever.
Well, they're probably trying to impress. They're probably trying to you know, they're probably simple. But it's also this mask. A lot of women, hey, I taught a 4-week nude yoga series of workshops here in Perth a few years ago. And the last workshop was, I can't remember what the theme was, but it might have been actually self-acceptance or something like that. But the women weren't able to, I told them they're not allowed to wear a scrap of makeup. And it was the hardest week. And we did some incredible, courageous things in that 4 weeks. But the makeup, actually not wearing makeup, was definitely the hardest thing. So I think the reason, just to get back to the point, why self-acceptance is so important is because it's by accepting ourselves, and it's not settling. I don't want people to think it's like, oh, I'm unhealthy or I'm overweight or this, and I'm just going to settle and accept it. No, the more you start to accept yourself, the more you actually want to treat your body with love and care and keep it really healthy. Exactly. So it is really, it's defying the beauty industry. It's defying self-improvement.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. If someone is watching and if someone goes, well, it's okay for you because you've got a beautiful slim body and you're really beautiful and don't need makeup, what do you say about that self-acceptance when, you know, they don't feel beautiful, when they're not comfortable even looking at themselves in the mirror? I have a lot of people in the bra queen community that for them, a lot of them will say, I can't even look at myself in the mirror. What do you say about, you know, and I've received, well, it's okay for you, you're beautiful, or you've got beautiful boobs, or whatever it is, right? What do you say to people who are feeling like that?
For starters, beauty is an inside job.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a positive, you know, mental frame of mind of seeing yourself, like I said to you, this beautiful woman who was in front of me and she, you know, was so insecure. Yeah. She couldn't see that she was beautiful.
Yeah. Exactly.
And in fact, inside was just eating away at her. And she, you know, if she continues on this path, I'm telling you, she will become haggard. You age so much quicker.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, you know, women can't age either. We have to continuously be youthful.
Yeah.
But if we continue on that trajectory, how you are inside is going to start showing on the outside.
Yeah.
And so even though someone will say to me, oh, you're slim and this and that, that actually just doesn't mean anything, because I've had models, like drop dead gorgeous, skinny, tall models come to my workshop and they are the most insecure of all.
Yeah.
And they really struggled through it. And so that's kind of proof that. And then women who are just really like just all out there and they're not stereotypically beautiful.
Yeah.
They're so happy.
Yes. Yeah.
Honestly, so it's an inside job.
I agree. Absolutely. I was having this conversation with my daughter the other day, and, I was saying to her, she's 12 this year, so she's really looking at body and, absorbing everything and a beauty. And I said to her the other day, I'm like, honey, you could be the most beautiful person in the world, but unless you're a good person, you're a kind person, and you love yourself, you become ugly. Like, I think that what you radiate, and I absolutely agree, it's how you feel on the inside is absolutely everything.
Yeah. And I heard a really awesome quote. I went to the Melissa Ambrosini and her partner Broadhurst. They did a show.
Ah, yes. How was it?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Nick Broadhurst is incredible. He really made the show. He made the night with his music. It was just like, wow. But Melissa said this quote, and I'd actually never heard it, and which surprises me, but she said, the grass isn't greener on the other side. So, if you think you need to be skinnier or taller or more tanned or have a bigger booty, because that's the new thing, is big at having a big butt. Yeah. Like the Kardashians, it's the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. So when you start to compare yourself and think you're not good enough or not there yet, the grass ain't greener over there because you haven't walked a mile in their shoes. Exactly. The grass is greener right now. What you put into your body, how you perceive yourself and life to be.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think for me, that's a radar for me, and that's a check-in point for me. As soon as I start to compare myself to others, in business, in in body, in whatever, in life, whatever, I go check in, because for me, it's just an automatic sign that you got to fill your cup, dude.
That, absolutely. And just switch off social media for a few hours or a few days or something, because that's when I find I go down a spiral, is when I'm actually watching what everyone else is doing, and I'm not focusing on the present moment. And I start to get this like twang of, oh shit, I'm not doing enough. You know what? I've got to be different, better. Just jump off social media and come back into reality.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think that is.
And I think Instagram stories have a lot to, and I love doing stories, but you can just get consumed in people's lives.
Oh, absolutely. But I kind of go as well, there's a couple of people that do it a lot. Like, a lot. Like their little, the little bar up the top. There's like 50 of them across this little screen, And I go, how many times do you look up and see the world with not through a screen, but as it is? Like, I go, wow, man, that's so friggin' time consuming. Like, I think they're brilliant, and yes, they work if you're in business and, all of these things. And I think you do it really well.
Thank you.
I've not once jumped on yours and gone, man, she's on here all the time.
She hasn't got a life.
Didn't get any work done.
So true.
But it is like, it's that what's his name? There was a clip I watched last week of Prince EA. Have you seen any of his videos?
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, it was one that I watched last week about the whole look up and put the screen down, and and of course he delivered it in his poetically beautiful, moving way. But it's so true. So that's, I'm less and less on social media, and I'm making conscious effort to put the phone down, to shut off the laptop, and just, and if I notice myself scrolling, I stop.
Oh, same. And, if I didn't have an online business, I would actually go off. I would want to experience life without it all.
Yeah.
I can't. It's so, my whole business is based basically online.
Yeah.
Which I'm internally grateful for. Because I
Yeah.
don't have to go back to, a corporate job.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really important that we don't have devices and screens in the bedroom. I think that's a really big thing.
Yeah. We've just moved our, my partner actually come home. Didn't even ask him. We didn't even have the conversation, but we did have a conversation about change and about how this year is about change. It's about, standing in our power and getting traction towards what we really want. And the first thing he did was he bought an alarm clock.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So we haven't had one we've been together for nearly 19 years. We haven't had an alarm clock for well over 15 years. Like, it'll be, so now it's phones and it's amazing. Amazing. We go to bed nicer. We wake up happier. We're having better sleeps. It's so nice. So yeah, that is such a small thing that I absolutely agree with. Yeah.
I cut out alarms completely from my life. I don't set an alarm for anything ever. Yeah. I don't actually do anything before 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't schedule anything, and so why? I don't see the point in alarms. I love waking up naturally.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, not everyone can do that.
It's the best. No, I've got 2 kids, so
no, yeah, fair enough.
And if I want any me time, it has to be before they wake up.
But yeah, totally understand. My partner's he's a meditation junkie as well, and he'll set the alarm at 4 a.m. and meditate till 6. And I'm like, listen, mate, if I'm staying the night, that ain't happening. Yeah, I'm quite a sensitive sleeper in the morning, and so now he's losing in with me to 7:30. Love it.
Nice, but it's that way of just waking up when your body's ready. Your body's saying, I'm ready. Here I am. My kids do it. My kids go, I want an alarm. I'm like, you don't need an alarm, honey. Like, your body is an alarm. And I love that they will go to bed and they wake up when their body is ready to wake up. And we lose that in adulthood. But I really feel like now, once you're kind of aware of this space and you're coming into this pleasurable, hedonistic life, I think you trust that and you're kind of doing what you can to move back to that innocence and just trusting your body as to where it's at.
100%. Yeah. I'm all for that.
Thank you so much, Rosie. I've loved talking to you. I've been looking forward to this chat so much. I even told my partner when I said, oh, I'm interviewing Rosie tomorrow. And he was like, Rosie Rees.
Oh my God, he knows my name.
He does. He actually likes what you do. He loves what you do, and we both do, and we love what you're contributing to the world. So thank you so much, and I'm going to put all of your details to your shop, to your site, to everywhere underneath this video. And what we'll do is I'll even, if you're able for, people to ask if they've got any questions, I can connect you and you can be around for anyone that's watching.
Please do. I've just enjoyed speaking to you so much, and I do lots of podcasts, and I've just thoroughly enjoyed your questions and where we've delved today. So thank you so much, and I love your movement as well.
Oh, thank you. It feels good, and I love that. I feel like there's bigger movement happening of this army that's going, you know what, there's an easier way to create, there's an easier way to feel good, but you know what, it starts with self, and it's just the most important thing. So yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Renee.